why is it that people can't go, man, thank God that wasn't stopped, because I got 2 more rounds of an incredible fight, a fight of the year candidate. In fact, I'm going to go back to the last fight of the year winner, which was Weili Zhang against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. And if you go back, I believe it was either the second or the third round, Joanna lit her up. And you watched Weili's corner actually went and picked her up and carried her back to her corner. So where was the outcry with Keith Peterson when he didn't do something about that? It was a great fight, and it stayed a great fight. It was the fight of the year. And guess what with this one? I think this is probably going to be the fight of the year, or it will at least be in contention. Now, look, in the rule sets, it's supposed to be that the corner cannot pick up and carry the fighter back to the corner. But I'm going to give you a little bit of, Brian was in his corner. That all happened at the end, right in his corner. Yeah. So when they're going in and he's laying down there, yes, they did pick him up. Could Herb have done something? He could have, but he's also looking, saying he's in the corner. They didn't pick him up and carry him across the ring or the cage or anything like that. He was actually where he's supposed to be. I'm not telling you. I have stopped fights when, Vadim Nemkov. Look, Vadim Nemkov couldn't get up off of the mat to go to his corner. I called the fight on him because I wouldn't let his cornerman touch him. But your referee has got to call that. And if he doesn't call it and they touch him and pick him up, well, you're kind of stuck then because you didn't do your job with it. So I want to say, Herb, thank you for not doing that and allowing that fight to go on. I actually thought Herb did a really good job as far as the way he handled a lot of that. He handled it well. People were complaining also about the time after with the doctor and stuff because, he was hurt. You took time away from, look, that's fighting. I'm just going to tell you, rounds in MMA, yes, we get a 1-minute break. Okay. But if you're in a big fight like that or on TV or in pay-per-view, Bellator, PFL, UFC, when it's on TV, they take more time. Okay, we have a guy at Bellator, Mike Sarnowski. He's the stage manager, and he's giving the official the ability to when to start the fight. The official doesn't get that call. It's because there's TV stuff going on. So most of the time, that round is actually somewhere in the area of 1:13, 1:15 is the break in big fights like that because there's more talk. There's all this stuff going on. And so, that was longer. That was, it took more time, but that's called for the health and safety of the fighter. They're going to take that time.
Yeah, the thing is, though, too, they're going to do that normally at the end of his break, so he has time to talk with his coaches. He has time to recover. Then they do it at the end of the 1-minute break, so then it doesn't interrupt any game planning, because then it's like, you just had the doctor, and I didn't get a chance to get water. I didn't get a chance to talk to my corners.
And it's also, this is what we call trying to be fair. Volkanovski's over here. He's getting Eugene Berriman to talk to him, to give him, something, as far as, hey, I want you to do this. He's getting information from him. He's getting the water. He's having the cut man work on him. If you do it during the break, you're making it unfair because one person is getting everything that they're supposed to be getting while the other person is now having to sit there or stand there and talk to a doctor. They're not getting any information. They're not getting worked on at all. All it is for the doctors, good in getting information on whether I'm going to allow the fight to, continue or I'm going to stop it. So, we do it at the end so it's even for both fighters to be able to talk to their corners, get that attention from the cut man, get that water, do the things that are their time, and then we'll use that timeout break period in between it to now try to make it to where the doctor can have time.
Yeah, I said Herb did a good job because, look, as a fighter, from a fighter's perspective,
you're asking
I'm here. I'm asking. I need more time, or I want. Here, the other thing is, I'm somebody who is. I'm in my world title fight, and you're basically gonna stop the fight because I was already in my corner. I decided to lay there until my coaches came in and just picked me up and said, "Hey, get up, sit up here." That's like. That type of stuff, maybe he didn't know where he was. You can make excuses for him all you guys want. You can say the things that you want to help make the argument biased for you. But the thing is, though, is for me as a fan, and not only just as a former fighter, but also as a fan of the sport, I'm glad we got more rounds. I'm glad I got to see Brian Ortega fight more. I'm glad I got to see that. That was a fucking fantastic fight. Oh, yeah. Look, I had it being a little bit more one-sided also. And people were like, yeah, it was a one-sided fight. You know, it should have been over. And this and that. I said, yeah, but it was sure, it was one-sided on the scorecards. But at any moment, that fight could have changed. And we saw that in the third round. Yeah, exactly. That fight could have been over at any moment with Brian Ortega's grappling, the way he is on the neck, his darces, his guillotines, all of those things, his triangle, T-City, baby. Like, we could have seen all that. It could have been that with it. Think about this. Think about if he would have got the submission in the 5th round with like 10 seconds left. Everyone would have been, we would have never have seen moments like that. We've seen that. We just talked about it earlier. Yeah. Robert Whiteford, when he fought Sam Cecilia, he was losing that fight.
All the way up until that point.
That last 6 seconds, you know, it was a 30-second, he rocked him, but the last 6 seconds, he ends up knocking him out with 6 seconds left on the clock in the fight to win the fight. That's the type of stuff that makes like legendary fights.
And that was a 2018 fight going into the 3rd round, Sam Cecilia. Yeah. So, you know, here's another question that came up. Okay, how do you score that 3rd round? So, Josh, how do you score that 3rd round?
I gave it a 10. I gave it a 10-9 for Brian Ortega.
Okay, tell me why.
The reason why is because he had 2 submission threats that were very, very tight.
Oh, yeah.
And that were basically so close enough to finish. He was looking to finish the fight. They were super close. But if you look at what Volk did at the end, where he was able to put a lot of damage out on him, a ton of damage. When that happens, that brought the fight back to a 10-9. That's what I thought. I thought it was very close. I could have seen it being a 10-8 still for Ortega.
Oh, my God, no.
But at the very end, with the damage, I gave it a 10-9.
Okay. So a lot of people have asked me, well, what do you give credit for? Well, you've got to give credit to both fighters. And it is true. When Volkanovski gets cut, because Volkanovski was, he got hit with a shot that put him on his butt. People don't remember that. Yeah. That's really what put him on his butt. So he got hurt with that shot. Can't say exactly how much because obviously he had enough, in as far as activity in his brain and thought process to struggle and work and kick his way out of a very deep guillotine. Many times, and I say it all the time when we'll have commentators or I'm commenting and I'll say that's not going to work. Or the commentators, oh, it's deep. It's like, no, it's not. That one was deep. Okay. That one was one that when you see someone work their way out of that, that's impressive because that thing was on. The body position was right. He was doing all these things that you go, oh, that's going to put him out. Volkanovski was tough enough to put up with the pain, the pressure, to get himself out of it. So that's one submission attempt down. That definitely puts him down. But then as he gets out, look, he started putting a whooping on Brian, and he hit him with some big, heavy shots. We're not talking just ground and pound, body, head. We're talking heavy, heavy blows that were damaging Brian. And then Brian throws on the damn triangle, and it's not tight in the beginning, and he doesn't have the arm across, but he gets it there for a moment, and it was tight. And you see that look in Volkanovski's face like, how in the fuck did I end up back here? Okay, and he works his way out, and then he gets on top, and he proceeds again, heavy ground and pound, lighting Brian Ortega up to the point where, he was almost put out in the end of that round because, 1, he was exhausted. 2, he took a lot of big, heavy shots. That all adds up. So when people are asking me, how do I score that? I'm going to tell you, I would have given it to Volkanovski. I hate to do that. I'm being honest based upon the 2 submission attempts. But here's the difference. When I have those 2 submission attempts and I look at Volkanovski, when he got out of the guillotine, the thing that impressed me so much was most of the time you'll see a guy, if he gets out of that type of submission and he ends up where he gets up on top, because Brian went for a darce and it didn't work or anything, and he kind of rolled himself over. But he ends up on top. You'll see most of the time, what do? Head towards the sternum, and they start to hold to get that air back. He didn't do that at all. He was going after him. He acted like he didn't lose any air, no time. Heart rate is fine. just kept on going and put a whooping on him. Then he gets out of the second one and does it again. The big difference is Brian is getting hit by strikes that are damaging his brain. Mm-hmm. What Brian put on Alex is it's limiting his breathing, but it's not affecting his brain at all. Only if his brain shuts off based upon that's what his body will naturally do. If it doesn't get enough blood flow to the brain, it's going to naturally shut off. There's nothing he can do. So that's telling me that he was able to gut out through that. He showed me through his actions that he was not exhausted from it. Yeah. I have to say that Brian was the more damaged fighter in that round, and that's why I would give it a 10-9 to Alex Volkanovski.
Yeah, the only reason why I gave it to Brian is because I felt like he was the one that was closest to finishing the fight. Sure, I know Brian took a lot of shots, but I look like to me,
I think they were both close.
They were both. I thought they were close, but
they were both close.
There was two occasions there where I felt like Brian had the
it was close
finishing sequence. Yeah,
no doubt.
So, but I'm not going any way in any which way.
I'm okay with someone saying, "Well, I think Ortega." Okay, I just go off of I look at it and I love submission, so it kills me to have a guy have two really good submissions. One that was outstanding. I thought it was going to finish the fight.
Yeah,
and for me not to give him the round off of that means the other guy did a lot of damage.